Hey, shalom, shalom.
So,
Hayawam tawab la'atam, which is good day unto you all. I'm knocking out Waha Barish Hala. We the Hebrew Israelites coming to you week in and week out through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham, Yahawashi, the priest, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, Haitians, and Israelite foreigners. Nachamatam, Kayam, Hamalakat Hashemayim, Kwara, repent ye for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. First and foremost, before we get started, go ahead and say, call Layam La, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rachak, Badashwa. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught the truth and the rule well. And much respect to you, brothers out there pushing the truth with all righteousness and sincere shalom, shalom.
so,
All right, so pretty much like the lesson is entitled, it says the name of the Lord Yahawashi, because this world, calls the Lord JC, or they might say, things like Yeshua or, Jehoshua or Yehoshua or things of such, you see, but that's not the Lord's true name. So we'll start with this. Actually, I'm gonna get this real fast. Did you have that Matthew,
God,
bro? Okay. I'm gonna read this, the etymology of the word for JC,
God,
which I'll read it verbatim. Because contrary to popular belief, this is not the Lord's name. The name Jesus is not the Lord's name. All right, but it says Jesus. It says personal name of the Christian Savior. Late, it is the Greek form of Joshua, used variously in translations of the Bible from late Latin Isus, properly pronounced as three syllables, from Greek Iesus, which is an attempt to render into Greek the Aramaic. And you see, it's already given like three or four different versions, and which it just plays into Esau's deception. It's a whole bunch of confusion. But it
hmm
says properly pronounced as three syllables from Greek Iesus, which is an attempt to render into Greek the Aramaic Shemitic proper name, Jeshua, Hebrew, Yeshua, Yoshua, and it says uh, Yahweh is salvation. It says this was a common Jewish personal name during the Hellenizing period. It is the later form of Hebrew, which it says Yehoshua, but it will be Yahawashai, because when we look at, the Hebrew, all right, there are no E's, there are no O's, and there are no U's. When you actually look at those vowels, we actually not supposed to be able to say those specific letters. Those were added into language. You know,
hmm
so we can get we go up get verse 1 and then verse 21, Baba Kushah.
God. It's Matthew chapter 1 and verse 1. You want me to read it verbatim?
Yeah, you good.
God. It's Matthew Matthew 1 and 1. The book of the generation of Yahawashi Mashiach, the son of David, the son of Abraham.
Mm-hmm. Yahweh Shai Hamashayach, because it says Christ, which when you go into the word for Christ, I'm gonna get this real fast. You can stay there, bro. This is Bon Sirach. This is Bon Sirach, chapter 1 and verse 1. All right. And it says, and which when I say Bon Sirach, also known as Ecclesiasticus, but pretty much, that's a part of the Apocrypha. When you actually go into the word for Apocrypha, it means hidden. So these scriptures, these books in the Apocrypha were hidden from the scriptures. All right. When Esau went around, spreading his madness, they essentially took out the Apocrypha when, it was supposed to be included all together, but in that process, he changed different words. All right. And the name of the Lord is one of those that he essentially, changed, because when you go into scriptures like, Deuteronomy 23 and 7, says, thou shalt not abhor, and verbatim it says Edomite, but we understand that that would be Syrian, because we had folks in those lands, back in those times, so it goes into a clerical error, with Deuteronomy 23 and 7, you see, but just the words itself, we understand that these are either transliterations or translations, and ultimately to get the proper understanding of different words, different books of the Bible, different names. All right, we got to go to its native tongue. All right, so I'm gonna read this real fast. All right, Zaban Sirach. This is Bon Sirach, chapter 1 and verse 1, skipping straight to the point. And it says, wherefore let me entreat you to read it with favor and attention, and to pardon us wherein we may seem to come short of some words. It says wherein we may seem to come short of some words, because when you translate things from one language to another, when you go into that word for trans, it means to change. So when you change something from one language to another, it may have some of the meaning, but really the word is gonna have more meaning in its native tongue. That's why when you look at TV, or you might be looking at basketball, like on the Olympics and stuff like that, they don't never say, this person's name in like Chinese. They always say it in the actual name. So they'll say LeBron James, and then they start speaking Chinese again.
Right.
They don't switch over, to Chinese. So I'm gonna run it back. It says, wherein we may seem to come short of some words, because you can't translate words into another language. It's gonna lose some force in it. All right, it ain't gonna be the same. So it says, which we have labor to interpret. It's a labor to interpret it. Because ultimately, changing a word, changing a name, it's going to take some great labor. Because some languages don't even have the same letters. While all the languages derive from Hebrew, it has been slight changes and derivatives over time. So it's going to be a labor. Because you got to put in sounds sometimes it's not even there. You know.
Hmm.
So continuing
Hey,
on, it says, "You good?"
if I got to your point real quick, in this Matthew 1, and it talks about the book of the generation, right? That generation going back to the origin, right? So when it says the origin of Yahawashi, the son of David, the son of Abraham, right? So it's telling you that his origins go back to those two men, but what language were they speaking during that time? You know?
Hmm. Right. And then at the same time too, you know, uh, different people, we understand that this is a Hebrew book, a Hebrew Israelite book. Like you can't, pick up the book and then, all right, I'm gonna skip straight to Revelation. As a so-called Christian, you couldn't pick up the book and skip straight to Revelation. But okay, this is talking about so-called Christians. Nah, like if you read a book about little Timmy, all right, you go from front to back. That book is still to little Timmy.
Hmm.
So in reference to what we're talking about, all right, if it's a book about the Israelites, that's who it's specifically written about. All right, and the Israelites have a specific language. It's not going to be in English. Like I mean, you do have Israelites scattered that speak different languages. But our source, our lineage, our heritage goes back to Yasha Allah. And essentially it goes back to the Hebrew. You know.
Exactly. Exactly.
So continuing on, it says, which we have labored to interpret, for the same things uttered in Hebrew and translated into another tongue. That word for trans, it means to change. It says, have not the same force in them. And not only these things, but the law itself and the prophets and the rest of the books have no small difference when they are spoken in their own language. So when you ultimately say, we ultimately go into the words in the scriptures, you got to get them in their native tongue. All right. That's why you got to go into, the Hebrew, and you got to go into the Greek as well, to get a context of what's actually being spoken about.
Right. Okay.
So when we go back to running that back, Matthew 1 and verse 1, it says, the book of the generation of Yahawashi, Hamashayach, the son of David, the son of Abraham. All right, and then listed all the way down to pretty much listed the lineage of our Lord Yahweh Shai, because he did come out of the loins, of a man. You see, but skipping down to verse 21, it says, and she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Yahweh Shai, for he shall save his people from their sins. All right, so when we go into his name, all right, we understand that there are no J's. J's were invented in 1524. There's no E's. All right, there are no U's. All right, and when we see the S, it would really be a Sa, Well, if speaking in literal terms, but that would be a Shah, But the Lord's name is Yahweh Shai, because it says, He shall save His people from their sins, So He saves, He delivers, So when you plug that in the Hebrew tongue, it's going to be Yah for He. All right, Hawashai means to save or to deliver.
Hmm.
So from there, could you get Acts? I believe it's 14 and 26 or 26 and 14. But I'm gonna get this. This is Zamashaya, this is Proverbs chapter 30 and verse 4. It says, who hath ascended up into heaven or descended? Who hath gathered the wind in his fist? Who hath bound the waters in a garment? Who hath established all the ends of the earth? What is his name? And what is his son's name, if thou canst tell? So it's a riddle, because the world is believing on, a contrary name, but the elect ultimately have the name of the Lord, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, And when we read this, because Christians will say, oh, well, should they confused, they one moment they saying, they believe in a Trinity, then they saying, all three the same, so but really it's just the Lord, the Father and the Son. The Holy Spirit is what gives us understanding, that's sent from the Father.
God, God. This book of Acts, chapter 26 and verse 14. And when we were fallen to the earth, I heard a voice speaking unto me and saying in the Hebrew tongue, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? It is
If I can
hard for
mention
thee.
too, it said, I heard a voice speaking unto me in the Hebrew tongue. So, and at the same time too, it has to be understood that Paul, he understood that it was Hebrew too. So Paul was scriptures say in Romans, I believe somewhere, I think it's in Romans 11, that Paul pretty much stated that he was a Benjamite. So he understood about our heritage, and he spoke the language as well. I believe it's also in Acts the 22nd chapter, to where he spoke in Hebrew and everybody kept silence. So Paul spoke Hebrew.
God. Let me
And
go
then
back.
it said
Sorry.
Hebrew tongue. The tongue. When you talk about languages, the tongue is essentially just saying another language.
Right. Kind of read it again. It says, Acts 26 and 14. And when we were fallen to the earth, I heard his voice speaking unto me and saying in the Hebrew tongue, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks.
hmm So pretty much, that was the Lord Yahweh Shai. I believe the next verse says it right.
Kind. It says, and I said, who art thou, Lord? And he said, I am Yahawashi, whom thou persecutest.
Right. It said in the Hebrew tongue.
Hmm.
Right there it says verbatim, JC, or it says Jesus, but it said Hebrew tongue. JC is not a Hebrew term. There are no e's in Hebrew. There are no u's. In the modern Hebrew they got e's, u's, and o's and stuff like that, but we understand that that was added at a later time. But to reiterate, those sounds are not, they're not natural. We're not supposed to be able to make those sounds.
Hmm. Exactly.
I'm gonna get this though. This is John chapter 17 and verse 6. It says, I have manifested thy name unto the men which thou gavest me out of the world. Thine they were, and thou gavest them me, and they have kept thy word. So pretty much, the name was manifested to the elect. Not everybody believes on the true names. This world goes off of a false name. There's many false names out there, but only the elect has the true name. All right. And it says, and thou gavest them me, and they have kept thy word. Then I'm gonna get that real fast. This is it's like I'm all over the place, but this is Second Ezra chapters 2 and verse 47. And it says, so he answered and said unto me, it is the Son of the Most High whom they have confessed in the world. Then began I greatly to commend them that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. So essentially, the elect is able to stand through that faith, and ultimately, having the correct name, you know,
Hmm.
which I'm gonna get this too. But you have one?
Oh, you go ahead. I'm looking for one right now.
Kai, Zata Haryam, this is Psalms chapter 124. And I'm gonna get verse 8. It says, our help is in the name of the Lord who made heaven and earth. So the Lord has a specific name, all right, in the Hebrew tongue. Saying Lord, saying God, saying the Most High. Those are all titles, but the Lord manifested, His name. The Lord Yahweh has a name. The Most High has a name. The Lord Yahweh Shai has a name. It's not JC. It's not Christ. Those are Christ is just pretty much means anointed. When you go into that, you know uh Hamashiach, the Messiah, the anointed. That would be the correct term in Hebrew, Bahalashwan Kwadash, you know.
Mhm. Uh, this is Acts 4:12. It reads, "Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved."
Hmm.
So just like the brother is saying, man, it's only one name, right? And it's a non-negotiable thing. You can't speak on these other transliterations, right? You can't use these other mispronunciations, right? It's only one name that's gonna get you saved out of here, man. Right? You can only serve that name.
Right. I'm gonna get this too. This is Exodus chapter 23, and we'll get verse 21. All right, and it says, verse 20. It says, "Behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way, and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him." All right, so ultimately going into the phonetic sound, you see, but when this is another way you can access the name of the Lord as well. Like when you look at the alphabet, Ha'alat Bayah, the alphabet, that's how you say it in Hebrew, you know, you can access the Lord Yahweh. You can access his name. You go to the Yah, to the Ha, to the Wa, to the Ha. You cut off that last A. If you did the same thing in the English alphabet, you couldn't select different I mean, you could build it up as if it was in Hebrew, you see, but you couldn't use the same sounds, the phonetic sound with different languages. You had to go to the native tongue in order to do it the correct way. By just selecting Hebrew characters. Because
Right.
I'm gonna read it again. It says, "Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him." So being that Yahawashi is the alphabet, you have to go to the alphabet to spell the most high Yahweh's name. Then also it shows you that we have a mediator. So again it's like a riddle. And I actually want to get that word for riddle if I can.
Hmm.
This is the word for riddle. All right, give me a second. All right, riddle. And it reads, it says Chayad. It says the riddle begins by dividing the hearer from the listener by creating the riddle. The riddle ends with the answer uniting the two. And only the elect, have that answer that's going to unite the two. Now I want to get this next one. It says Chayada, the feminine version, and it says a question or statement so framed as to exercise one's ingenuity in answering it or discovering its meaning. You see, so the only ones that I'm gonna skip down to it. It says achayada and it says riddle, a hard sentence. So let me get this precept real fast. This is Bonsarat chapter 39 and verse 1. It says but he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient. Now, you had mentioned a point, bro, earlier in the lesson. Matthew 1 and 1. It said the book of the generation. Generation goes back to lineage. It goes back to the origination. It goes back to what was preeminent. So what was first. All right, so I'm gonna read that again. It says, but he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High and is occupied in the meditation thereof will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient. Ancient pretty much goes back to like you was mentioning, that which was preeminent, what was original, what was the primary estate. It says, and be occupied in prophecies. He will keep the sayings of renowned men, and where subtle parables are, he will be there also. He will seek out the secrets of grave sentences and be conversant in dark parables. All right, and this is a dark parable. The name of the Lord is a dark parable to those. Excuse me, it's a riddle, and it's a dark parable that only the elect have the understanding. To ultimately decode. Because going back to that word for riddle, it said chayada. I'm gonna read from Chayad, and it says the riddle begins by dividing the hearer from the listener by creating the riddle. the riddle ends with the answer uniting the two, or the two that are united will be the Lord and the elect. All right, and those that don't ultimately understand the riddle, well, they just outsiders. They're they're yeah, they're just on the outside. But it says chayada, and it says a question or statement so framed as to exercise one's ingenuity in answering it or discovering its meaning. So then it says riddle, dark saying. So those that have their ingenuity exercised, those that have their senses exercised, will be the elect. I'm gonna skip down. It says achayada, and it says riddle, hard sentence. All right, those that ultimately can um, read that hard sentence, those that can read the notes, because this is a new song and the name of the Lord is in that new song. All right, those that can read the notes will be the elect.
Hmm. Exactly. I'll add to you real quick.
Mm-hmm.
It's Micah chapter 4 and verse 5. It reads, "For all people will walk, every one in the name of his God." Right? So, regardless of what we tell you, people are going to be, believing in, right, false names, right? They're going to put their hope in false names, right? It says, "And we will walk in the name of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahawashi, our power forever and ever." So we've been directed to, teach the correct names, right? So that you true believers can follow in the right names, can walk in the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? While the rest of these people out here will walk in the mispronunciations, they'll walk in the Greek transliterations, right? They'll walk in whatever other deities they find themselves following after, right? But we're gonna follow the correct names, man.
Right. And pretty much I didn't mention it, but what sparked this video was it was a Jake that was on social media, and pretty much he was like, if it in so many words, it was like if someone comes in, saying the Lord name, pretty much he was scoffing at the Lord Yahweh Shai's name, which that is the Lord's true name. Because I even went into the comments, and you had those that were scoffing at the Lord's true name, you see, but you had Jake that was already on game that knew that was the name of the Lord. You had Jake that was pretty much was like, yeah, what's crazy is that's the Lord's true name. You see, but Jake gonna learn the hard way. You know,
Exactly.
Jake gonna learn the hard way. I got one more, and then that'll pretty much be it if you ain't had nothing else, bro.
Okay.
This is Shawapatiyam, Judges chapter 10 and verse 13. It says, "Yet ye have forsaken me and served other gods." Salat. I'll start from verse 11. This is Judges Shawapatiyam 10 and verse 11. It says, "And the Lord said unto the children of Yasha'Allah, Did not I deliver you from the Egyptians, and from the Amorites, and from the children of Ammon, and from the Philistines? The Zidonians also, and the Amalekites, and the Moabites did oppress you, and ye cried to me, and I deliver you out of their hand." That's how Jake get down. Jake could get delivered just like in Egypt. Jake seen the chariot, you know, and Jake after that point, Jake went and made a fucking idol. Jake is very forgetful. You know,
Right.
but it says, "Yet ye have forsaken me and served other gods, wherefore I will deliver you no more. Go and cry unto the gods which ye have chosen. Let them deliver you in the time of your tribulation." That's essentially the point, that we in now, because you got Jakes, that essentially, they're scoffing and they're mocking, at, the name of the Lord and different things as such, you know, they're scoffing and mocking, you see. But we're coming up into the time where they're gonna have to produce their strong cause. They're gonna have to produce their reasonings. Like roughly paraphrasing. They're going to have to confide into those different idols. And we seen that in the time of the vid. They ain't have no answers. The only power that has the answers is the Lord Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, and that's his true name. You know.
That's it.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I had, bro.
Con. Yeah, that's all I got.
Hey, well, Adonai Tazaza Banaya Palu was what that was a beautiful edification to the spirit. While Adonai Tazah Adam Yashya Wam Tawab, a Lord's will, you have a good day. While we go ahead and close it up by saying, Call Halayim La, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachah, Kodashwa. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught us truth and rule well. And much respect to you bros out there pushing this truth with all righteousness and sincerity. Shalom, shalom. Hayawam
Shalom.
tawab la atam. Hey, shalom.